Bonjour, Kinamagi and Nene Ireland Indigenous, and welcome to this production of Social Studies Explorer. Today's episode, Regional Differences. We begin with this presentation from Google Earth, because before we can really remind ourselves of the difference in each region, we have to identify the regions. First, we have the southern region, and that's going to include Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland. At this point, West Virginia was still part of Virginia. Those are our southern colonies. We'll talk more about those in a minute. In the middle colonies, we have Pennsylvania, New York, Delaware, and New Jersey. And we have the New England colonies, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire. At that time, Vermont wasn't yet there officially, and Maine was part of Massachusetts. You can see that it's going to have a differing terrain. And that's something that'll play a role. You can see there are mountains here. This is part of the Appalachian chain. We have obviously ocean front here, and that's going to play a role. So let's talk a little bit about these differences. First, let's talk about the South. Farming, cash crops is how we're going to call it, are going to be the key thing. Cash crops included rice, tobacco, indigo, things that could be sold for a profit. Our tobacco was frequently processed and sent to Europe, and it became a way for Virginia to be a very wealthy colony. It also became a place that could use extra employees, so they go from indentured servants to slavery. So in the slavery is a big role here. The institution of slavery goes from 1619 all the way until after 1865 with the ratification of the new amendments of the Constitution. Contrary to popular belief, the Emancipation Proclamation only freed the slaves in those regions that were in rebellion. So places like Maryland, Kentucky did not have their slaves freed. The South is going to be more small town. Obviously, Charleston's a bigger city on the coast. Deep water ports. And it's also warmer and moist. Really good for growing a lot of things. And the South is going to be huge in that area. And realistically, plantation life is a thing through and even beyond the conclusion of the Civil War. So let's look over here for a bit at the middle colonies. Middle colonies are going to be more diverse, more religious freedom, going to still have farming and other industry. It does have some slavery, but not nearly as much. Has influenced by the Quakers, the Dutch, Swedes. So it's going to be a much more diverse area. It's also not going to be anywhere near as religious as you would see in New England. New England is going to be built on religion initially. I would say religious freedom, but it was really freedom for them to practice their own religion and not necessarily for everyone else to have freedom. This is the home of the town halls, where people get together and help make decisions. It's a mountainous region compared to the others. Not so much on farming. Industry is the key one here. So as you can start seeing, the regions are going to be different. People are going to have different views. Obviously, the culture that develops in the South is far enough away from the culture of the middle colonies in New England that within 100 years of the Declaration of Independence, we've already fought a civil war, especially when it comes to slavery and the economics of that. Obviously, your views on things will be different based on where you're at. If you came to New England as a Puritan, you're going to look everything through the lens of religion, and that's not always the best thing, as not everyone practices the same religion. They really didn't leave a whole lot of freedom in that whole religious freedom. The middle colonies is where you're going to eventually find places: New York, Philadelphia, some of our early major cities, although obviously Boston is a big one that's going to be in New England. And that's where the American Revolution will take root in the 1770s. What I'm going to ask for you today is to just kind of compare two of these regions and tell how they are the same and how they are different. You're welcome to utilize any resources, including Google, as these questions are helping to prepare us for the assessment. If you have any questions, you're welcome to email me at mireland@sagchipschool.net. Have a minute, Bigijagad. Meanwhile, Bama P.